Being at work right now, it's definitely more stressful than it normally is. With both the pandemic and the opioid epidemic going on, it's adding more layers to our already overloaded system of more time that it takes to do calls and put on PPE and clean the car and clean our gear and then continue on to go to help the next person. Plus the influx of overdose calls on top of that, where we're still having all those precautions. It's definitely overloading the system. Patient outcomes can be different across any overdose that we go to, especially depending on how long they've been down for. But a lot of the times, regular drug users have more high-risk complications, especially that are related to more serious COVID cases, such as COPD. The BC CDC did do a study on this, saying that they were at higher risk for those serious COVID complications just because of their lifestyle. So it definitely affects us going into those calls and being prepared for any of those high-risk situations where potentially somebody's vomited and has a fluid airway, and how we have to deal with that while still protecting ourselves with the equipment that we're using now is different than how we used to deal with that. On every call that we go to, we are wearing a silicone half respirator, we are wearing a face shield, sometimes also goggles underneath, and our gloves. On calls that we sort of deem to be higher risk before going in, we will also put on it's basically a plastic bag as a gown underneath our gloves, so it creates a seal there and just protects our uniform a little bit. It's very hot in the summer to have to wear a lot of this gear, so hopefully people are patient with us. I started at a very young age and I was always happy to go to work. I still am, but some days it's harder to put on the uniform and get going, because you know that you're going to be wearing a mask for 75 to 80% of your day. It's only off in between calls where you can scarf down your food and take in some water, and then you keep going with the next one. And having the heat and having the PPE and having the call overload and going from one to the other, not really getting a break, it wears on you both physically and mentally, where you're just trying not to take it home with you at the end of the day. We get very overlooked a lot of the time, and I said to you, a lot of the times with car accidents, we've come and gone before the news crews arrive, so nobody sees us, and that's sort of the case with a lot of things that we do. We come and go, we're in and out, we're already at the hospital with whoever needs to be there, that nobody really has an exposure to what we do unless they've needed to call us for something. That's a good thing for the public, that they're not needing our services, but it also leaves us in a position where we're very vulnerable to the fact that anything that comes out in a negative light can be wildfire, because people don't know the other side of it and how hard that we work for the communities that we work in and that we live in. A lot of paramedics, they live and work in the same community, and they could be responding to their neighbors or their family members, and they treat every patient that they see the same way, where they work so hard for their 12-hour shift that sometimes you come home and you're a little deflated. And I wish people would just understand that a little bit more, and I think our union is really doing a good job of putting us more in the press and trying to get our stories out there and trying to get our stories heard, so that we can hopefully change that perception.